We want to thank our primary sponsor and my employer by day, Nassau Financial Group. Our tagline is, working harder to be your carrier of choice. We support you with best-in-class service. We seek to keep things simple, and we'll have your back in the years to come. We're headquartered in Hartford, Connecticut, with $27 billion in assets and over 500,000 policyholders. We've been doing this a long time, 170 years, but we remain humble enough to always try to improve.
Welcome to That Annuity Show, the podcast that will make you an expert in explaining annuities to your clients. Give us 30 minutes each week and we'll shave hours from your client presentations. Now, here's your host, Paul Tyler.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler, and welcome to another episode of That Annuity Show. Ramsey, good afternoon.
Same to you.
Okay.
Great to be here as always.
Yeah, we're actually doing this at an unusual time. It's the afternoon before Thanksgiving, when most people are on calls, but we're doing a podcast.
Well, that's consistent with what we've done really over the last 2 years. We really haven't taken any weeks off. We've recorded during holiday weeks pretty consistently. So it's that's why we're at 125 plus shows.
That's why we are, and we talked about consistency last a couple of weeks ago. Consistency of performers. Rolling Stones managed to turn out great concert experiences consistently year over year, more years than I would imagine. And we're kind of continuing that. We're continuing that discussion today. Ramsey, do you want to set it up and introduce our guest?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are delighted to have Cyrus Bamji, who is the head of communications for the Alliance for Lifetime Income, join us today. And we have Cyrus and his team to thank for giving us the opportunity to both record at the Rolling Stones concert here in Atlanta and just to attend what was an absolutely fantastic event, both in terms of obviously the quality of the show, but the way Cyrus and his team really presented their work and their content in the context of an amazing show. So, Cyrus, with that, we're really looking forward to talking to you today about your journey, right? The journey of how you brought the Rolling Stones and the Alliance for Lifetime Income together and how you made it work so well. So, with that, I'm going to hand it over to you to give us tell us how this story started.
Great, thanks guys for having me again. It's been nice to be on this, what is a great show that you guys put on over here. So the story of the Stones and the Alliance is quite fascinating, actually, and came to us almost by accident. About 4 years ago, which is about when the Alliance started, the then CEO of Jackson National, one of our members actually, who Barry Stowe is his name, used to be head of their Asia operations for Prudential PLC, which is the London-based group. Used to be head of there, and he got involved and was introduced to the Stones back then. They did a sponsorship over there in Asia of that. When they were coming to the U.S. for their tour in 2019, when he was at Jackson as the CEO, he didn't think it was a perfect fit for them, and they weren't in a position to do it, but he did talk to them about the fact that there was a nonprofit consumer education organization that he and others were involved with, the Alliance, and said, you guys should talk to them. So that's how they came to us. We talked to their management at that time. They were not interested in a corporate sponsor. Really, frankly, the Stones don't need any money, as you well know, or can imagine. They really just they affiliated with us, and they liked the fact that the Alliance was this consumer education organization that had a cause out there. And you know what that cause is as it relates to us. We're interested in making sure people understand that there's protected income out there through annuities to help people make sure that they don't run out of money in retirement. So creating awareness for that. So that's what our pitch was to them. And we did the deal, did the concert and the tour back in 2019. Our plan was phenomenally successful for us. Our plan was to do it, as you can imagine, last year. The pandemic shut down the entire world and the entertainment industry, as you know. The tour got postponed, came back this year, fortunately, and here we are. That's how we kind of came to it. One other thing, I get asked this all the time as to why the Stones? Well, for a variety of reasons. Number one, there is no other large venue or venues out there or brands out there that you can affiliate with where you can aggregate millions of fans, in this case rabid fans, all within the demographic that we're trying to reach out there, which is 50 to 72, age 50 to 72. There just isn't, in terms of sheer numbers. This concert and the tour that we sponsored in 2019, as well as this year that we just completed, we were able to reach over 1 million in-person, million concert goers, and over 25 million social media fans who follow these guys like crazy. Every day, every tweet, every Facebook post, and so on and so forth. So you just can't get that kind of reach and awareness in terms of the people that we're trying to talk to and reach out there. So that's the primary reason.
Well, I met some of those fans, flying back. I met a great guy. Said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to the Detroit concert next." It's a little more affluent than I think than some of the other concert fans I've seen. So I totally get the demographic. If we're sort of step back, I want to pull a little more on that thread of consumer education. Big history buff, as Ramsey knows. That was my major college. There are certain points in time when industry competitors have come together, addressed a problem common to them, and done something really unique for the products that are selling. Now, Ramsey, you may have some better examples because I think Ramsey studied a little more than I did in college when I was there. But I think about pork, the other white meat, got milk. Ocean Spray. Most people, I don't know, Rams, you can tell me, most people don't think of Ocean Spray as a company, but really, what was the problem? You had all these cranberry growers who had one season, right? And I think it's appropriate for Thanksgiving when everybody ate cranberries and they forgot about them, Cyrus, for the rest of the year. And they said,
right.
What can we do with our product to make it more palatable? And their response was, well, let's create a company and a brand, and we're going to put this out and put some sugar in this stuff. You can make it taste a little better. What's the problem? I think you talked about one problem. How close are you to hitting the core problem where people really want to take the retirement in their own hands? I mean, do you think you're 95% of the way to sort of tackling this thing, or
Sure.
are we in the starting innings?
No. Well, answering your last question first, we've been as an alliance, we've been in operation now for 4 years, 4 very fast years, and from the inception of the alliance back in 2018, 2018 really, when we got going, to where we are today. We do a ton of research on a regular basis throughout the year, both academic and scholarly research on the market out there, especially consumer market, as well as our just straight up consumer market research. So it's showing a huge difference between 3-4 years ago and what we are today. Consumers are finally becoming aware of the fact that there's a risk that they face in retirement, and I'm not just talking about retirees, pre-retirees too, which is of course people that we're really trying to reach today, as they're starting to really think about the fact that I'm 5-10 years away from retirement over here, as my portfolio is set up for that. They're really starting to think about the fact that they need protection in retirement. That's the bottom line, and the research is showing now that increasingly consumers are looking for protection, and now annuities to help protect part of their portfolio. That is a big change in 3-4 years, and quite remarkable, and a testament not just to the work that we've been doing to reach consumers directly, but also to the industry. I think the industry overall, member companies that we have, other industry groups, experts have all kind of come together now, and you see a lot more of this awareness and education out there. We've just been kind of the tip of the sword to kind of lead the effort over here, and it's been working. So that's number one. But just then go back to your first question about the cause. We really did start this. This alliance was started by our 22 member companies with a cause. The two CEOs at the time that really got this going, Barry Stowe, the chair and CEO of Jackson, and Dennis Glass, the current CEO, about to become chairman of Lincoln, came together at over at a reception, at an industry reception, talking about the problem that we as a society were facing, and that is that they saw, like many of our insurance company members see, millions of people facing the chance of running out of money in retirement. Saw the writing on the wall. Because they didn't have some type of protection in their portfolios, in their retirement plans, whether you have 100,000, 200,000, whatever it may be, the fact of the matter is it's not enough to last throughout what is now a longer life. And so they really saw this as the best way to do this was to set up an alliance that had a category campaign feel to it and effort to it, which was how do we make people aware of annuities, number one, and what they are, because that is what the research shows. I'll segue over here. A lot of folks have thought for years that annuities are perceived as bad, and that consumers think annuities are bad. When we did our research right at the beginning of the alliance, and it was extensive, 3,000 people that we surveyed out there with extensive questions. We can share some of that with a number of folks. What we actually found was more than a negative opinion, people didn't understand them. And so whatever they had heard through hearsay, whether it was unfortunately through a financial professional or others, was actually minor compared to the fact that they needed to understand what annuities were, where they fit into their portfolio, and they'd just never been made aware of it. So that's what we saw as our mission, was purely to go out and say, these are what they are. Yes, they can be complex. Yes, there's a whole variety of types of annuities out there, but you need to talk to your financial professional about how they should consider including it as part of the portfolio. That was a long story and long way of saying that's what the cause was, and that's what remains to be the cause today.
So there's something very interesting there, because there is an educational burden for sure, and retirement is complicated anyway before you even get down to talking about one specific solution or another. So I'm curious how you think about the role of the financial professional versus the person who wants to do it themselves. And my sense is that the alliance is essentially looking to provide services to both those parties, if you will. But tell me about how you think about that. Given all you've learned, how do you think about DIY versus people finding the right financial professional to incorporate annuities?
Well, it's a very interesting question, and actually goes straight to the heart of what our strategy has evolved to be over the past 3-4 years, and that is today more consumers are looking for protection and are asking about annuities, and I'm going to share with you in a few minutes some hot research that we've just completed.
We love it.
That the Annuity Show is going to get a little scoop on over here before it actually goes public to other media and other folks out there. But the fact is, consumers are looking for it today. Financial professionals in general are still don't think that consumers are looking for protection in their portfolio. There is still this disconnect that's continuing out there, which we are going to address. But it goes to the heart of our strategy, which is we've always had a strategy of going out and educating as many people out there, millions, about protected income and annuities and how they should fit in their portfolio, how they can provide greater retirement security. What we've realized as we've gone along the way is we've got to have an equal effort towards financial professionals, because at the end of the day, and it's still the case, as you know, Ramsey, most annuities can only be bought through a financial professional. It can only be recommended through a financial professional. Yes, there are other ways to get it more directly, but that's the facts. if we can't get the folks that are, let's call it gatekeepers, to an annuity being used in a portfolio, which are the financial professionals, if those folks are not as educated themselves, which many of them are not, they don't even, that's another thing that we find in our research. It's not that they don't like them, they don't understand them. So our efforts have been twofold in the past year and a half, directed towards consumers and continuing to do that. We want to reach as many as we can. But we also, which is the pull side of it, the push side of it is pushing our efforts to financial professionals to educate them about annuities, not just in the simplest way, but in some pretty technical ways. How do they fit into your portfolio? What percentages of portfolio should you be thinking about for particular types of profile of clients? Financial behavioral aspects of it, in terms of what your client may be looking at. There's a whole variety of things and efforts that we've been going through with financial professionals directly to basically help them understand that these products can and should be at least considered within a retirement portfolio. If you're going to act in your client's best interest, let's just put it that way.
You're on mute, Paul.
Thank you. I think we've got all our families are coming in around and had to hit mute.
Yeah.
So Cyrus, you teased it. Tell us, how are we doing as an industry, or how should we be doing responding to what, or should we be shifting what we're doing from what customers need or say they want?
Sure. I'm going to refer to some notes because there's a lot of data in here, and I'm going to boil it down for you so you can edit this part out, Paul. So on the first week of December, we're going to release our Protected Retirement Income and Planning Study. This is a really big, large study that we used to do once a year. Now we're doing twice a year because that's how fast this world is changing around us. This is how fast the consumer world and client world is changing around us, and triggered a lot by the pandemic, by the way, I may add. That research study is about to be released, and there's some very interesting findings that I wanted to share with you and your viewers and listeners out there over there. Number one, a very creative thing that we added in this particular research was we asked consumers if we gave you a $1 million retirement portfolio, $1 million in your account of assets that you can invest wherever you want, in whatever type of equities, bonds, CDs, whatever it may be, in annuities that you want. How would you construct that $1 million portfolio by yourself?
Interesting.
So, number one finding, they would definitely not construct it in the traditional old 60-40 portfolio way, which was probably one of the most revealing things, because that's what most consumers have still heard, as you well know. 60-40 is kind of the retirement planning portfolio. I remember my financial professional 20 years ago talking to me about it. I remember him mentioning it 10 years ago. That's kind of the way I would do it, but that's not how these folks looked at how to construct a retirement portfolio. 20% was to invest in dividend stocks, 14% to real estate, and 13% to annuities, which they were offered these different, all the different products that you can put into a retirement portfolio. Those three were the largest by far.
Really?
Everything else, the remaining half, were in things like CDs, bonds, crypto, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So, it's an interesting and fun way to look at it, but it really did surprise us that when you get a laundry list of things that a consumer could invest in for themselves with whatever knowledge they have, that annuities were ranked third in that, and very close behind real estate in terms of what would produce retirement income in a portfolio. So that was number one. The second thing that we found in this study, which is really interesting, and I think I mentioned this earlier, is there's still a disconnect between what consumers and Americans are looking for in their retirement portfolios and their retirement plans, and unfortunately what a lot of financial professionals still think their clients want. or should want, that kind of thing. So the research still shows, and this is consistent, guys, by the way, over the course of many research studies that we've done over the past 2-3 years, but even as a the spring PRIP study that we did, which is 42% of clients are extremely interested in owning an annuity, while only 18% of financial professionals think their clients are interested in protection or want an annuity. That's a huge gap that continues to be there. So, our perspective, as we've always said, is if FPs aren't at least considering annuities when you talk to a client or a prospect or whatever it may be, they're missing a significant opportunity right now, significant opportunity to do what's in the best interest of that client. So that delta continues. And our work, by the way, as we go into 2022 with financial professionals in reaching out to them to educate more, to make them aware more, is going to be focused on this delta, in helping them understand that, you know what, when you talk to clients, you need to talk to them about protecting their portfolios. You need to ask them about their feelings as to what they want in that portfolio, not just now, but 10, 20, 30 years from now, talking about longevity and all the various risks that are involved with that. There is good news, but one final thing over here in terms of this. The annuities are being used more by financial professionals in the last year. I think some of the sales data that we have all seen out there over the past 6 months, a year, kind of indicate that. Annuity sales data, they're all up, obviously. So annuities are being sold and are being recommended more in retirement portfolios out there. This is how it breaks down. About 33% of financial professionals are using them for income purposes. Another 33%, about the same percentage, are using it for asset growth and protection. So asset growth and protection. And then 15% are using it for tax deferral. Which is also an interesting factor. And by the way, I should have added over here, this wasn't just a consumer survey. We surveyed over 2,000 consumers in this study, and we also surveyed over 500 financial professionals across the financial professional spectrum. Everything from RIAs to IBDs to large broker dealers, banks, et cetera, et cetera. So this is kind of across, and insurance broker dealers, across the spectrum of financial professionals out there. Last thought on the financial professional side, 82% of financial professionals, huge percentage, associate annuities with the words provide protection. That's a very important thing for financial professionals who are currently recommending them or should be recommending them or looking to recommend them. Those are words that are resonating with consumers out there and your clients out there. And those are the words that you should be looking to provide. And, as you know, the terms guaranteed income have been used for a long time. Our research in the past, not to disparage the word guaranteed, but our research in the past is people are still skeptical of that word. There are no guarantees in life, but protection, hugely valuable. They resonate very strongly with that. So that's why we've always taken the mantra over here that annuities provide protection, protected income, basically.
Okay, wow, that's a lot to unpack.
Yes, it is. Apologies.
Bamji, where do you want to start?
So I want to go back to the delta. So number two is, first of all, they're all remarkable statistics. So one, thank you for the work that you and ALI have done to sort of bring these things to light. So it's very interesting. 42% of, if I got this right, 42% of consumers want annuities. Only 18% of financial professionals think
they want
that they want them. So
think clients want it. Yeah.
So there's two elements there. One is education. So educating the advisor, and then convincing the advisor that education is actually useful for their practice. So there's two hurdles there.
That's right.
And then the last one, which I always wonder about, is how much of an element the way financial professionals are compensated plays a plays a role. We have a system that's largely built around commissions, whereas a lot of those financial professionals are compensated based on AUM. And by the way, that's work in progress. So I don't expect you to have all the answers, but I am curious to get your thoughts on how much that might maybe playing a role in closing that gap, in addition to the mindset gap that we have there.
Sure. Well, without going into a lot of detail, and we don't have a strong opinion on this, but we do realize that is the case. Compensation is a huge factor with financial professionals, and how traditional, models have been built in terms of AUM, as you said, et cetera, et cetera. The fact is, over the past 3-4 years, annuities have evolved. There's been a lot of innovation in terms of how they're packaged, how they're developed, in particular for the RIA market. A lot of fee-based annuities. There are annuities. I just saw something the other day about how they're being structured, in particular for financial professionals, so they don't actually lose control, which is their fear, right? You're taking $100,000 out of this portfolio that I manage over here, and you're putting it into an annuity that I lose that ability to make money for my client, and of course make money for myself off that. But there's a particular type of annuity now out there that you don't have lose that control. I'm not going to go into who it is or whatever it is. So I think, to answer your long-winded answer, Ramsey, but I think that is still a hurdle, no question about that. But at the end of the day, the burden on financial professionals, as you well know, across the board, is still, you got to be looking out for the best interest of your client, and you are, and we realize we're not saying that they're not. If you start with that and you don't at least consider annuities in there, in whatever way, shape, or form they are, whatever type of annuity it may be, then our position is you are not looking out for their best interests, and you're not doing what's going to be good for your client long term. That's it.
Yeah, and I interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I'm also interested in what may have caused this shift in consumer views of annuity, Cyrus. I mean, clearly your group is out doing a lot of good things. We've had other organizations do it, but there's now some of the older pundits who were down on annuities, I know they've sort of changed their tune a little bit, but there's still a lot, one nameless organization that's spending an awful lot of money telling people, why they hate annuities.
They're
why?
That nameless organization is doing less of it these days. Fortunately. Maybe because they're seeing the tide turning for whatever reason. But the fact of the matter is there's still there's still critics of annuities out there, right? And there probably always will be. I remember seeing a piece of work that somebody put out. I think it was Morsha Molesky putting out a piece just a few days ago about a document that was produced back in the 1800s, I think, disparaging annuities and why they were terrible back then, knowing that annuities have been around for not just hundreds of years but thousands of years. So there are always going to be critics out there, but I think the tide has turned for a variety of reasons. One, yes, I do believe that the Alliance has been doing amazing work in educating consumers, and we're talking about millions of consumers out there through different ways. No question about that. Number two, however, I think what's accelerated that awareness is what happened last year with the pandemic. I think that the pandemic really had this, what we like to call this retirement reset in people's minds. Across the board, young and old, no question about that. People have been resetting their lives in a sense, but people who were close to retirement, it really did a number on them as they started to think about not just their jobs, how long they would have their jobs. We know, statistics are showing that the largest number of people retired last year when they had not planned to retire. There's plenty of numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showing that. There's all of this stuff happening. People either just tired of it, either lost their job and said, I'm not going to start looking for a job, I'm old enough to retire. So all of this transformation and change, I think, has led consumers to feel unstable about the future and the future of their retirement. And because of that, once again, thanks to some education out there, I think people are starting to say, hey, is my portfolio going to be enough? Is what I've saved in my retirement my retirement portfolio or my plan enough? Is there enough in my 401k that I've had for the past 30 years enough to last for what could be easily 20, 30, and if you ask Mick Jagger, 40 years of life to go over here, right? The poster child of longevity, which is also another reason, by the way, that we sponsored, because he is the poster child for longevity. If you can keep doing what you love at the age of 78 without missing a heartbeat over there, think about what you as Joe Schmo, me, could do, or can live to. So
fascinating. Well, we actually did some of our own research, right, Ramsey, and actually went out on the street with our microphone out in front of the stadium. By the way, Cyrus, we had a great time. So
absolutely amazing time.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And
I'm surprised. It's an amazing event.
I'll play this right now. Maybe we just sort of talk afterwards, because a lot of what you're saying we found out on the sidewalks out in front of the Rolling Stones. With that, let me just run this. What do you plan to do in retirement?
Enjoy. No work, sport, bicycle.
What
Problem? Enjoy the money, man. Enjoy the life.
Yeah.
If you have money, do it.
Thank you. So, what do you plan to do when you're retired?
Fish, or work on my house, ride four-wheelers, anything but work.
Okay. All right. What do you plan to do when you retire?
Well, he don't know it, but we're going to travel.
Okay. You left that out.
I left that out.
Yeah, that's what my other significant other says too. So do you know when you can start traveling?
10 or 15 years.
All right. Well, thank you. First of all, are you still working or are you retired?
I'm working at the Postal Service. A mailman for 27 years.
Okay. Oh, you got the TSP.
Right. Yeah. So when I do retire, which hopefully is in a year or two, then I'm good.
What do you want? What are you looking forward to most in retirement?
Being able to relax and travel across the country a little bit, take my bike out and ride down Route 66 and enjoy it, enjoy life, enjoy not having to get up in the morning and be on this mission, to get to work at 7 o'clock and stuff.
Yeah. Congratulations. Thanks for all that you did during the whole pandemic.
All right, good deal. All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
So, what do you plan to do when you retire?
Retire? I don't know. Go to Florida? Nothing. just lay on the beach.
Lay on a beach?
Yeah.
Why can't you do that right now?
I don't know. I'm poor.
Okay. What do you plan to do when you eventually retire?
I want to own property. Then I just want to travel the world and enjoy living. That's about it.
So what's stopping you from doing that soon?
Soon, I'm still working now. Just opened up my own place. Just trying to get that up and running. That's about it. Then I guess in about 5 years maybe, I'll be coming up toward retirement.
Yeah, so
isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
By the way,
yeah,
that was just a handful. I'm glad you were able to capture some of that, Paul. But we have talked to thousands of those people now in person, through 13 tour stops this year, and another 15 the year before. Those thousands of people that we talk to one-on-one, number one, people ask us, they're going to a Stones concert. Do they really want to talk about retirement and money? How are they even... Well, guess what? When you're parked right outside the stadium, and most of these fans, hundreds of thousands of them, show up 2-3 hours in advance to have fun, tailgate sometimes, et cetera, they see us at the stadium right in front of it. They're curious. And we have other things to engage them. We have, as you well know, you guys saw this, we have games, trivia games, Stones trivia games, we've got giveaways, et cetera, all to lure them in there. But let me tell you, people ask, why would they talk to you about retirement? They're more than willing to. We have not found anybody, frankly, that has not been willing to talk to us about what they plan on doing in retirement, how they're planning for it, what they're thinking about, and then for us to get our message out there and say, have you thought about this? So it's been great. I will say this final thought on these Stones fans. I'm sure you learned this as well. You did not hear one person that you interviewed, I bet, say that they're going to go sit on a porch somewhere and sail off into the distant land, right?
No, it's all. I want a car. I want to do woodworking.
Exactly. This is the new retirement. Some people are going to continue working in some way capacity, part-time, volunteering, whatever it may be. But retirement is no longer what it was for our parents and our grandparents, including for boomers out there today, even older boomers. That's the big transformation. And going back to why we did the Stones concert, the Stones embody longevity. They embody that they remind you that, hey, I could live this long in quote-unquote retirement, whatever you want to call it, redefine it. And that when they sit back and think about their own lives as they're watching Mick Jagger out there running up and down the stage, like he did at age 18, hasn't lost a step, it's amazing. They start thinking about their own selves. And they, too, want to be able to live their full life like that. And that's the universal thing that we found in the million-plus concert goers that go to these things. Not one wants to sit down and chill, for the rest of their life for the next 20, 30 years. So
yeah.
Well, it was very interesting to hear those people talk, because if you think about it, in order to ensure that retirement that they're all seeking, the one thing they don't want to have to worry about is risk. They don't want to have to worry about whether or not next week's stock market performance is going to impinge on their ability to take a ride on their motorcycle or travel to where they want to travel. And I think that's just a huge takeaway from that. But really, people want stability. They want stability, and that's what we and all financial professionals need to help them optimize for.
Yeah. I just think it confirms your, and by the way, we have more. I'll run the rest of this thing at the end for people who want to hear. We had some really fun discussions with these people. But besides, you're right. They don't want to put all the money on red and run the risk that maybe they won't be able to go fishing. They won't be able to travel with their spouse.
Did you see, Paul, by the way, I'm sure when you guys, both you and Ramsey, saw one of the triggers that we have at the concert venue is this campaign that we've been out with called a bucket list. I'm sure you may have seen it. It's a bucket on the side of it. This is what an annuity can do. So we came up with this, and ties back to what you were just talking about, the fact that they don't want risk in their retirement. Some of them have had plenty of risk in their jobs, before. They just don't want to put risk into their retirement. So the bucket list campaign and this is connecting with what we like to call a cultural icon. Everyone's got a bucket list, right? My kids have a bucket list. You don't have to be 50 plus years old to have a bucket list anymore. Everyone has a bucket list. Your bucket list is things that you want to go out there and achieve, do, whatever it may be. It could be traveling to hike Kilimanjaro, or it could be as simple as going across the country in a Winnebago. That could be on your bucket list. When we connected annuities and protected income with a bucket list, this is what we said. If you want to pursue your bucket list, and by the way, the Stones concerts, there were thousands of fans that told us, a Stones concert's on our bucket list. We're here because of our bucket. This is checking off our bucket list. What our pitch is that if you want to cover your bucket list, cover your basic expenses, as you were just saying, Ramsey, in terms of if your basic expenses in life, your mortgage, your utilities, your groceries, whatever it may be that you have to, those monthly bills are covered for the rest of your life, you have the freedom to pursue the things on your bucket list. And let me tell you, the light bulb goes on in people's heads as soon as you talk to them about that stuff. Annuities make sense in that context like you wouldn't believe with consumers. That's basically it. Cover your basic expenses so you don't have that risk. You've always got that covered. the rest of your savings, the rest of your investments out there, you can spend pursuing those things on your bucket list.
Yeah, that's great. And what a great way to spend an afternoon with you, Ramsey. What else? What else should we cover?
I think we got all the key issues. I just I'll just say again, like that was just an amazing experience front to back. The concert itself, the ability to record live. We'd not done that before, and in fact, I've met Paul live before. It was actually my first time meeting Mark, in person because of the pandemic. So things really came together. It was both a challenge and an opportunity for us. So Paul was a wizard with the equipment and everything else like that. So really a very so you said bucket list, and I'd say like that. It ticked that box. It ticked that box for me in a really meaningful way. Look, there's a lot more work for all of us to do, and we're obviously. We have a mission similar to yours. We want to continue to look for ways to work with you and the ALI going forward. I think that this opportunity with advisors is big, and looking forward to how we can make that work together.
Yeah,
you got it.
Hey Cyrus, this was great. On a personal, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? Are you staying home? Are you
so?
Family?
This is why I said, who's the crazy guy that actually scheduled this call the day before? Every year for, God, I can't remember last when, my place becomes ground zero for my family coming around the country. Everyone's got a ground zero that they go to, grandparents, whatever. Ours is ground zero for our family. So normally in past years we've had, 20, 30 people literally show up, that kind of thing, from out of town or all around the world, around the country. But last year obviously was out the window. This year we don't have that many, but we do have a few folks coming. So I marinated 2 chickens this morning, and my wife did the turkey, and that's I'm going on to that as soon as we're done over here.
Oh, excellent!
That's going to be our Thanksgiving, but a lot to be thankful for all of us this year, guys.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, Ramsey, enjoy your family. Mine's home. We're going off with our friends. Anything special you're doing, Ramsey?
So I'm going to try and cook a turkey. I've never done that before. But a good friend of mine, an old GS colleague, sent me a killer recipe. So I'm gonna give it a try this year.
You don't try. I mean, this is in the words of the great Yoda.
Yoda.
Do not try. Do. You're going to cook it.
I'm going to nail it. I'm going to brine the heck out of this thing.
All right. Well,
just tell me you're not going to fry it. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
All right. Cyrus, Ramsey, thanks so much. And for those of you listeners, stick around. I'm going to play the rest of that tape, and you'll hear who people get advice from, and you actually will get a live audio tour of that whole activation area that Cyrus described, courtesy of John Roseborough. So thanks so much. Tune in again next week for another episode of That Annuity Show.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information at thatannuityshow.com.